I'd like to call the Board of Education meeting of USD 443 to order. Meeting of February the 11th, 2019 will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record show that members are present, except Tammy West and Lisa Killian, and Pamela is on the speakerphone with us. So good evening, Pamela.
Good evening.
I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda, including the supplemental personnel reports.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Or raise your right
Aye.
hand, which you're used to. Thank you. And the approval of the bills, I looked through the bills, nothing is unusual. I'll make a motion to approve the bills for this month.
Second.
All in favor, raise the right hand. Pamela?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, we have a special presentation, and Dr. Dirksen will make that presentation.
Okay. Mr. Hammond attended a ceremony in which contractors across the state were presented awards of different kinds. Hutton received an award of honor for pre-engineered buildings, specifically the sports facility at the west side of the high school was recognized in a state awards presentation, and Mr. Hammond was supposed to be here to present it to you, but I will have you come forward and we'll present this and we'll display it probably in this room until we have a new location, and we'll do so proudly. Cool. Very state-of-the-art facility, getting a lot of positive recognition across the state, and we're very honored to be the recipient of that and proud of Hutton for the work that they did. All right, thank you. Your badge is over. There you go.
That's a beauty pageant. We're in trouble.
Anyway, it is a distinguished honor, and
It is. It's a beautiful facility.
it's a beautiful facility and a very nice award as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. We are ready for our Stuco reports. Standing in for Alejandro this evening is Victoria Garcia from Dodge City High School. She is a senior.
And not nervous at all.
Good evening, everyone. As they've said, I'm Victoria Garcia. I'm the Vice President of Dodge City High School Student Council, and I'm here today to update you on our current events as well as our future plans going forth. This week, NHS is hosting their annual Pennies for Patients collection and will be taking donations during each lunch period, as well as at tomorrow's basketball games. Tomorrow is our winter homecoming game and coronations. Candidates were selected through senior voting, and winners will be selected through a school-wide voting. Homecoming King and Queen will be announced tomorrow at the halftime of the boys' basketball game. This Thursday, DCHS will be hosting Scott City and S City for the last installment of Class Leadership. Student council members are able to have a chance to learn important leadership skills that they will be able to bring back to their respective councils. Next week, Seatbelts Are For Everyone, a group ran by student council members, will be set up during lunch to encourage students to sign a pledge to wear their seatbelts and raise awareness for safe driving. On February 26th, DCHS will be hosting a curriculum fair for incoming freshmen. This will allow future students to get an idea of all the great things offered at DCHS. Student Council will have a table set up, and we look forward to seeing many new faces. We've also begun our planning for spring recruitment, in which we will visit fellow middle schools and kind of talk to the students about joining Student Council and all the benefits of being a member. And lastly, on March 1st, both Student Council and NHS members will be visiting Lynn Elementary to read to students in celebration of Dr. Seuss's birthday. We're looking forward to all the great things we have planned and are excited to continue doing work in our school and community. I'd like to thank you for having me today, and if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Tomorrow night's when we wear the pink T-shirts too, right? That's
right.
Tomorrow night. So hope you got yours. And
it's
there
Garden
in
City's coming to town, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, we never forget that, do we?
No, we never. Now from Comanche Middle School, Andrea Yates.
Good evening. Daniel Acton from the First Christian Church spoke to us on January 28th. He talked to us about not gossiping and getting involved in drama. Mr. Acton is scheduled to come once a month to deliver a topic on building character. The Student Council will be selling roses on February 13th. The money we raise will go to the dance we are planning. The Junior Honor Society held a food drive. All the food was donated to the Salvation Army. CMS will be going to the Civic Center on February 21st to listen to the community concert. A concert pianist will be performing for us. The 8th grade will be going to the Expo Center on Wednesday to take part in the DCC Career Expo. I will get to go, and I'm looking forward to it. Our basketball teams are doing great. Our 7th grade is currently undefeated. Conditioning for spring sports has started. Conditioning for track is every morning at 6:30, and soccer is every other afternoon until 4. The drill team tryouts for next year are this week. It is a very busy time at CMS. Please feel free to come by and visit anytime. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Now from Dodge City Middle School, Grace Pelton.
Good evening. I am here to present about the exciting things happening at Dodge City Middle School. Winter activities have been very busy this past month. We have had a great boys basketball season. Our 7th and 8th grade boys basketball team are continuing to improve and look forward to a strong finish as their season winds down. DCMS hosted a Scholars Bowl meet. Varsity placed 2nd out of 10 teams, and our junior varsity did not place. Last Tuesday, the DCMS drill team had the opportunity to perform along with Comanche, as well as the Dodge City High School drill team at the DCHS basketball game. More than 100 dancers performed together. It was an amazing show. Our National Junior Honor Society has started collecting spare change for the Pennies for Patients program to assist families with children battling cancer. National Junior Honor Society members are collecting change in the lobby before and after school at home basketball games and have placed collection boxes in all advisory classrooms. Our student council will be hosting the 2nd school dance of the year on February 15th. The theme for our school dance is Destined to Be. This DCMS Stuco has also been selling Valentine's Day grams this year. The Valentine's Day gram is a smelly pencil with a stuffed pencil buddy. It is state testing season. We are busy working on our testing skills. The CALPA test exam was recently given to many students in our ELA classes. We are preparing for our state testing in our ELA, science, socials, and studies, and math classes. Our 7th and 8th grade choirs got to travel to Dodge City High School to see Disney's Freaky Friday the musical. It was the first time this production has been done in the state of Kansas, and we were excited to be a part of the audience for an amazing show. We were excited and proud to see a number of DCMS alumni on stage. I had the honor to go to Hutchinson for the Kansas Wellness is a Blast School Wellness Conference, along with Miss Wells and Miss Baugh, a PE teacher at Lynn Elementary. We learned new ways to improve our school and their wellness policies. Students at the conference participated in a number of breakout sessions and did a number of break-out-of-the-box activities. We got to go share ideas about what we were doing in our schools to promote and improve our wellness. Thank you for the opportunity to present. Do you have any questions?
I
Thank
just
you. You
want,
covered it well. You all did.
I would like to add that Grace represented the district very well, to the point that I even heard about it from an outside administrator. So we appreciate your representation on our behalf, and I'm glad you got something out of that. So it's very important to all of us. So, very nice.
Thank you. Okay, recognition of visitors. Persons may present ideas or concerns regarding USD 443 schools. No action will be taken by the board at this meeting. Personalities and behavior of employees are not to be presented during this period, but are to be reported to the employee's immediate supervisor. The president shall determine the amount of time to be spent for citizen participation. We have someone at the podium.
Thank you. Board of Education, Administration, my name is Richard Falcon. I work for Compass Behavioral Health, and I'm also with Yellow Ribbon. So I wanted to talk a little bit about suicide prevention. And kind of this is an informal educational piece for the people of 443. Yellow Ribbon was the suicide prevention started in 1994. It was one of the first suicide preventions to come along. In that time, we had ASSIST and QPR. These are the three biggest suicide prevention programs in the world. The ASSIST program is in 50 countries in all 50 states, where Yellow Ribbon is in 47 countries in 50 states. Yellow Ribbon started in 94. The ASSIST program started in 1990, and QPR started in 1999. ASSIST and QPR were really created for the mental health professionals, where Yellow Ribbon was the first suicide prevention program that was created for teens, adults, to understand suicide prevention. It is evidence-based and best practice, and keep in mind that all gatekeeping training is evidence-based in the United States. I'm also the president of the board of directors for Light of Life Foundation International, which means that I'm in charge of Yellow Ribbon, and I have an advisory group of doctors and therapists all over the world that I speak to and work with on a continuous basis. One of the doctors that I work with is John McIntosh, who created Yellow Ribbon and is now the director of the American Association of Suicidology. And this is where we get our stats worldwide of suicides. Another one that I've worked with is Dr. Arthur Cassidy. He actually has the Yellow Ribbon program in Northern Ireland, and he is the leading doctor in studying how social media is affecting kids with suicide. He also has his own TV show in Europe, and eventually he's coming to America. I want to talk about Dr. Robert Schmidt. He's from Maryland. He actually did a 10-year program and continuously does this program in Maryland with Yellow Ribbon. In his 4-year study, and this is where Yellow Ribbon got its evidence-based practice, he showed suicide thoughts decrease by a trend of, it started at 14% in 2001 and dropped down to 9% in 2010. The study showed that teens were able to identify friends struggling with suicide. It also showed less suicides in the community, but it was applied across the district. So in his program, the administration, the teachers, paras, everybody that belonged to that school system was trained every year in Yellow Ribbon suicide prevention. He also used cards, bracelets, and shirts with the hotline number on them. And he also had a screening tool that he used in all of his schools that helped identify kids that were struggling with suicide. He is the one that really showed how the program works and the effectiveness of this. We also have another person, Liz McGinnis, who's a Kansas person from Wichita. She had the Yellow Ribbon curriculum administrated to 3,257 students in 8 Midwest public schools with the same district during 2006 and 2009. Both middle school and high schools were included. The implementation of Yellow Ribbon school-based suicide prevention program was beneficial for adolescents in the Midwest schools. They had significant improvement that showed in suicide-related knowledge, comfort level, and behavior intent for seeking for suicide crisis. More than 77% of the students reported feeling comfortable with seeking helpful suicide thoughts after Yellow Ribbon. And compared to 57 prior to the training. 36% of the participants reported thinking of their friends of suicide risk. One of the things that Yellow Ribbon does, because we train the teens as well as the teachers, is teens will identify their friends that are struggling with suicide, and we're able to get those teens the help that they needed. Liz McGinnis also started the Suicide Coalition. One of the things I thought Dodge City did a great job with was the football game that was dedicated to suicide prevention. And the kids did a video which really brings awareness to the community. And I was going to ask Jeff if he was responsible for the video.
No,
When you,
I wasn't responsible for it. There's much brighter people that do that than me.
okay, because it kind of got turned off in the middle of it. And I didn't know if that was you that was running it.
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't know which switch to pull. I wouldn't
second.
turn it
Okay.
off anyway.
Another thing that we're doing is the middle school now has a Yellow Ribbon Teen Group. It's hosted at the Alley, and it features both Dodge City Middle School and Comanche Middle School. We had 30 kids that showed up on the first day, and so I have a team that's helping me to provide that support for the teen group. And I want to thank Caprice Powell. She's not here. She's also helping us with that, which is really great. One of the things that I want to inform you is that the United Air Force went with live presentation, and then they went to video training. When they went to video training only, suicide rose 33%. And then they had to go back to live presentations. Yellow Ribbon will not use video presentation because we know that is not effective in suicide prevention. However, Yellow Ribbon has helped a lot of the suicide prevention programs get started, like the ACE, which is used in the military. We also have helped Signs of Suicide, the Jason's Flat, Suicide Prevention, SAFE. And then I wanted to talk to you about something that I learned being on this board of suicide prevention, and there is a program called Sources of Strength. Sources of Strength got a lot of popularity because they claimed they were the only suicide prevention program that was evidence-based. Have you guys been approached by this? Okay. They charge schools $6,000 to come in and do their program, and they're finding out that there's no substance behind their prevention program. They are actually working with the government about sources of strength. So my goal is...
Richard, I've got a question. You have worked in the schools and you are always welcome here. I've just wondered why you chose this time and really what your purpose is, because you're welcome to talk about this subject at our board meetings at any time.
Oh, thank you.
And all you gotta do is get on the, is get on the agenda. Is your point to educate us today again? Because we've been through this, and it's an important subject, and I don't want to minimize it, but I was just concerned why you chose this forum during the visitor period, because you're certainly not a visitor to us, and we want to be informed.
Well, next time I will try to get on the agenda.
Oh,
I just came to kind of show you.
Well, I just want to know, is there a problem?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay,
Well,
good. Okay,
Well, let me get to the rest of it.
Okay.
I think we need to work harder as a community. So let me finish, and then I'll answer your questions.
okay.
Okay. So when I was talking to one of the psychiatrists that I work with, one of the things that he said, and give me, understand, I like everything we're doing at the Dodge City Middle School, or the Dodge City Schools. I like the idea that we're presenting. However, but one of the things that I've been talking a lot about is, one of the things he said is it's really important for grade school teachers to understand suicide prevention, because you start seeing behaviors in the 3rd and 4th grade. And by the time that those behaviors get to be middle school, they're diagnosable. And by the time that they hit 21, they might not live, meaning they could die of suicide, or they could be incarcerated because their mental health illnesses haven't been tended to. These are some numbers that I wanted to share with you. In 2017, we had 280 crises that came through our building. These are people that were either trying to kill themselves or kill somebody. And these were 280 lives that we saved in that year. In 2018, we had 408 crises. We almost doubled. 165 of them were adolescents. 96 of the adolescent crises were during business hours between 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So we have risen in our community with people coming in trying to kill themselves. When we look at our intakes, in 2017, we had 373 child intakes. That means people that came in for treatment. In 2018, it dropped to 354. My concern is we're having more and more crisis, but we're having less and less kids coming in for treatment. And I think that is something that we need to work on, is how do we get more kids into treatment that are struggling with depression and suicide. Mental health is 90% effective in dealing with depression and suicide. However, keep in mind that last year was the largest number, well, one of the largest numbers. In 2012, we had 10 suicides. Last year, we had 10 suicides, and 3 of them being below the year of 18. So my goal here was to educate you on the numbers, work together to find ways that we can get kids the help that they need that are struggling, because we're seeing more and more kids come in threatening, but we need more and more kids doing treatment and finding a way to make that happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to speak to my 4th high school assembly in March. And the student councils say, we want you to come speak to us, but we don't want to hear another speech on suicide or bullying. I mean, it's just interesting, and I'm not saying, it's just interesting because I really love the peer, helping peer in how we do that. I mean, how would you respond to what these students are telling me?
That, I think, is the stigma and the problem that we have in this community. Because the problem is and I know it's a touchy subject, and I know nobody wants to talk about suicides, and nobody definitely wants to believe that their kid could be depressed and suicide. But if you look at the stats, and this is what I tell a lot of families, 1 in 5 kids are seriously thinking about taking their lives. So if you have a family member of 5 kids, you could have that one kid that is seriously thinking about taking his life. And the problem I think we have in our community, and I'm talking about the whole community in general, is we don't want to think about it, and we want to assume that it's going to go away. And like I was telling Matt earlier, it's not going to go away. If anything, it's going to be more and more of a problem. When we talk about the Midwestern states, we're seeing the rise in suicides among 13 and 18-year-olds. When I talk to teachers, and they've heard me say this too many times, I will tell them that, between the years of 2010 and 2015, the rise in suicides between the ages of 13 and 18 has risen by 31% across the nation. In Kansas, it's 34%. We're above the national average of suicides between the ages of 13 and 18. And the problem is we need to start talking about what we can do to help that. I get that a lot of people are worried about it, but that's where it needs to start. I feel like we're doing a good job in the schools as far as the prevention. I think where we're struggling is the parents. When I talk to the high school kids and we get done with the presentation, the last question I ask them is, okay, go home and talk to your parents. And about 98% of them tell me they cannot go talk to their parents about this. Either they're scared, their parents don't want to listen, or they don't want to hear about that. And I think that's the problem that we're having.
Right.
I don't know how to fix the problem. But what I'm saying is, to fix that problem, I think it's going to be us and you all the time working on it. And I said this before when I stood up here, most of your schools work really, really well with me. All your principals do an amazing job working with me and my staff. And I see that, probably more so. The other thing is we have a great teen groups going on. and they're getting national recognition for the stuff that they do, but we still have high numbers, and my goal is to find ways to reduce those numbers.
Right.
So my goal here was to inform you, and
Thank
keep
you.
working on ways that we can be better with suicide prevention.
Richard, I do have one question, and not to say that there's anything wrong with Yellow Ribbon, but how many communities in western Kansas or the Midwest use multi-tiered programs like Assist and Yellow Ribbon? We use different ways to attack problems or teach people. Is that common that they use both, or is it more common that only one is used community-wide?
No, I know a lot of communities that use the Assist. The problem with the Assist program that I've heard around the state, when I talk to other schools around the state, is it's a 2-day, 8-hour program. And it was really created, the Assist program was really created for the professionals, and now it's being used more for the police and the EMTs and people like that. One of the things the Assist program teaches you is how to know the signs and then how to do a safety plan. I worry about that because, if your safety plan don't work, then who gets the liability if somebody dies? It's better to bring it to the professionals and have them create the safety plan. But I do know a lot of people use the Assist program. QPR is really good too, but it was designed for mental health, to train mental health. And it's a 1-day, I think, 8-hour program, where Yellow Ribbon was really created, and we try to keep it created for schools. So it was made to be 2 hours max, and create these teen programs in those schools to help each other out. No, I think it's good. Keep in mind, there's a lot of programs starting out, like Signs of Suicide, which actually had the Yellow Ribbon training and kind of took the ideas of Yellow Ribbon and just went a different direction. So theirs is like, they show videos of kids that showing signs, and then they try to teach the kids the signs to look for in your friends that are thinking of suicide.
Right.
Again, we don't like videos because most people
Right.
doze off when they're watching a video. But there's a lot of programs out there. The reason why the mental health picked Yellow Ribbon, because it has 25 years experience. It has a huge backing of professionals, and it's shown to be effective all over the United States. One of our biggest chapters is in San Diego, which teaches millions of schools. There's a lot of states, like for instance, we signed contracts for West Virginia, and there'll be somebody that goes in there and trains all the trainers in Yellow Ribbon. All they do is go to schools in the whole state, and they have a contract with the schools.
You bet. Richard, I'm going to call time on you, and I really appreciate, no, I don't want to minimize, I'm not minimizing the subject whatsoever, and I appreciate you coming and sharing that with us. And when you need to talk to us, call the district office, and let's put you on the agenda.
All right.
Okay?
All right, thank you.
Because we appreciate your program, we appreciate your organization.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to the consent agenda, the approval of personnel, including the supplemental personnel report, approval of minutes for the January 28th, 2019 Board of Education meeting, approval, the Lynn Elementary Site Council membership for 2018-19, approval of Bright Beginnings Policy Council minutes for December 18th, that is of 18, and approval of Kansas Parents as Teachers Program grant applications for Bright Beginning, approval of the state pre-K 4-year-old at-risk grant application, approval of the Kansas preschool pilot grant application, approval of donation to Dodge City High School from Gordman's. I guess we'll welcome them to town. Approval of disposal of old equipment.
Yes, we are.
Approval of the Kayla Beachy Memorial donation. Approval of Raz Kids and Reading A to Z and Learning A to Z. Renewal of the Mifflin hosting services, and update on the annual SF 425 federal financial report.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor? Pamela?
I second it, yes. Yay.
Okay, thank you. New business, curriculum instruction, Dr. Springsteen.
Good evening.
He's there.
Is everybody, is she there? Okay. I'm excited.
Yes, I'm here.
Good. I'm excited to present to the board the culmination of quite a bit of work by a lot of different people throughout the district as well as the community. So in your packet, beginning on page 33, there are some documents in there. And what I want to do is not go through each one in detail, but hit the themes and the highlights. And so what you have in front of you and what we're asking is a first read, so no action items to be taken or request of the board to do so tonight. But I wanted to make sure we could put this in front of you, hit the themes, and then if there's any feedback that you'd like to direct myself and staff to bring back to you, with the intention that we'd bring a final draft for approval to the board at your February 25th meeting. And so before we get into this, I just going to briefly go back. We started this process early last fall when we started looking at collecting data through the surveys, and then that led us into actually collecting data from our community as well as our staff in November. We started working with our community in focus groups. We had 3 meetings where there were over at times 60 people that were at those meetings to help dissect our data, analyze it, and identify themes, not just from the survey data, but other points of data throughout. So what you see is kind of what we saw as trend data that will drive our district over the next 5 years in our strategic action planning. And so we talked about the FACE of Dodge City, and we use that acronym as the FACE of Dodge being financial, academic, climate, and employee. So those are our 4 focus areas. And in each one of those goals, you could see that we developed a vision that for the process itself, and then each financial area developed a mission statement. And so in the employee mission statement, you're going to see 2 themes in there, and it's talking about connecting with our stakeholders on they're basically aware of the financial services in the decision-making process in the district, both internal and external stakeholders. And then the second piece is how do we appropriately forecast and set our budgetary resources around what our district currently needs as well as in short-term and mid-term future. So we're looking at our finances and what does that look like in all aspects, whether it be buildings, personnel, materials, and all the entities to support that. You could see how we structured this is there are 2 goals within each focus area, and the goal is the what. In other words, under the financial mission statement, we have 2 goals, and that's the what, and then the objectives under it, which are denoted by, you'll see an O. There are 3 under the financial goal area 1. So there's 3 objectives. That's the how. And so you'll see in there anything from conducting surveys to communication plans to advisory committees to help provide kind of a sounding board. Under the second goal area, developing a budget assumption model, which would include input from stakeholders or the advisory group to forecast kind of where our needs are going to be and any changes that may affect our budget, that some of which will be out of our control, whether it's legislative or taxation valuation changes. But then the main thing, if you see at the bottom of that under objective 2, is linkages to our district strategic goals. And so that will be a task as we say, what is going to be the financial resource allocation we need to achieve each goal? Under the academic focus area, there are 2 areas, and I've presented to the board already about this, but I do want to note that the goal 1, increased literacy proficiency, is very much what's being driven by our LINK grant, the Striver Reader grant, our 3-year grant, which we're receiving quite a bit of money to focus our efforts, and you can see in there the objectives. So we're talking about a culturally responsive learning environment, and so a lot of our focus this year is training our cohort 1 teachers in that, and we'll scale that up to cohort 2 and 3 teachers as well. Professional development, I've presented to the board different models. I've had the instructional coaches in here, so that's part of that strategic plan to develop our PD on how to help our teachers transfer knowledge into application. And then we're working on instructional practices, so it'd be alignment of our curriculum by grade spans or grade level. We're looking at our assessment practices, both our universal screeners to diagnose where a student's present level of performance is, and we're in that process and we'll continue that. And then also literacy, our literacy skills measured by local assessments, whether they be formatives. Those are still yet to be determined. And so we want to make sure that all this translates into student outcomes. The second goal under academic, and I want to note in there, is alignment of our curriculum, as I mentioned, with literacy, but this would be across all of our content areas as well as our electives and specials. Implement a curriculum material adoption process, which we're in the process of that with our English language arts adoption. And then if you look at the last two, there's a focused effort on increasing state assessment scores, both in our English language arts, and math. We can broaden those, but those are the two that we have put as our primary focus area in this upcoming 5-year strategic plan. The climate goal, and I think I would piggyback with what we just heard in open session about providing a safe environment for our students. And so the climate goal aligns directly with our KISA goals. And if we break it out, student self-efficacy, I know Tammy has presented to the board some information, or I know she has to the administrators, about our students' perception on whether or not they can set goals and their ability to achieve those goals. And that's important on our students' development and their future focus. Also, we need to focus on our students feeling respected. So do they feel respected by peers? Do they feel respected by staff? Do they feel respected outside of the school environment? And then the third objective under that first goal is implement and evaluate a systematic approach for addressing students' social, emotional, and behavior needs. That's where, as we've heard, there needs to be a multitude and a multi-pronged approach on making sure our students' social and emotional well-being is held at a high priority. So that'll be the school district setting specific goals and programs, but also working with outside partners and engaging our parent community as part of this process as well. And so you'll see that's highlighted as one of our objectives in the first goal. And then the second part of climate is developing two-way communications. And so you'll see in there it kind of runs the gamut from safety plans. The second one is interesting, and I asked Matt, because he led that group, about ensure facilities and communication reflects languages that represent our community. We could tie that into the academic cultural goal, but are we making sure that our facilities, our communications, everything we put out is user-friendly and welcomes people who English might not be their primary language, but are we looking at the cultural needs and sensitivity as we communicate as a district? And then you'll see the other ones are talking about building business partnerships and cultural competency with our staff. The last goal is employee. So we think about all of our assets. I mean, we're a very people-intensive industry. And so Dr. Nance is the goal area champion in this. And you can see your two goals are talking about how do we promote, because we talk about our student work environment, but our staff work environment. Do they feel respected and supported by the school district? How do we recognize their efforts? Like in this case, classified support programs of recognition are certified. And how many of our staff members are going to report, and that our goal will be is that we increase that percentage, that they feel respected and they feel like it's a safe work environment. And then the second goal is how do we engage and not only in the retention, but the recruitment of quality staff members. And then once we have them, how do we support them? So this is a broad-reaching but interconnected strategic action plan that covers obviously quite a wide basis of our school district and function. But again, I can't underscore that they are all interconnected. The last document, which this will be the next step, is one, I'm going to open it up for the board for any insight or questions by which I can take back and work with staff. But in your board packet on page 37 is the template. So what we'll do after the board meeting on the 25th is I'll work with the staff and the focus area chairs, and we will sit down and use this template and develop specific action steps that will have those criteria. So you could see in there it's got specific benchmark target data points for each year as we go forward, and then you'll see the detail, how we'll break down who's responsible, timeline, resources needed. So it's going to be a document that's going to be very specific, and it's going to set a pathway for us to achieve our goals. Once we have that done, then we're going to have an opportunity to sit down with building administration and link building improvement plans with the district improvement plans and make sure that this document is a living document. So are there questions that you guys have in just anything you don't understand, or we maybe need more clarification?
No, I just want to say I got to go to a couple of the evenings. I did miss the last one, but I really appreciate the input that everybody was allowed to provide in the breakout sessions, and I thought they were very well ran.
Okay, thank you.
Any strategic plan?
I couldn't hear what she said.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to hear that very well.
I said they did a good job.
Okay, yes, I would concur.
Yeah. You know, it's with any business strategic plan, it's the implementation. It's just, I've seen so many look great on paper.
That's what I was going to say. And I know when I was reading through, and I might get the club against my head because I come from obviously a very different business, but you know, like you say, you see a lot of these papers and, you know, we go into meetings and stuff, but there's always got to be a hook. And, you know, in our business, the hook is the money. So is there a way to attach that when people hit their goals? You know, I don't know. That's something I guess I don't know. But, you know, when you hold somebody accountable, but you give them that bone to reach for it, that's, I mean, it's kind of like the sports, you want to reach for the championship. You know, there's got to be some hook to me to get this put into place and to be kicked off with people that are going to be the ones out there, you know, making it happen. So, like I said, I might get hit with the club later as I walk out. I don't know if that's like a big no-no in the school district, but.
I'm not going to hit you with a club. You know, and you're right. I think what we have seen so far is a desire, and I'm going to go back to the audit, of saying, listen, you know, we've got, and I've used this term before, we've got great people doing, you know, a lot of good work, but it's hard to be really exceptional at one thing because we're doing so much.
Right.
And so that's been a statement that I've heard over and over since I've started here. We're starting to see some very positive impacts of things such as the coaches and working with teachers. We're seeing more and more teachers that are utilizing coaches for those instructional coaching cycles. So we're starting to see teachers intrinsically say, I've been wanting this kind of support. We need some clarity and direction. That does not mean that we won't hit walls, because this is going to be, while it appears to be a static document, I don't want to send a false message that we're not going to revisit this at different points throughout the year and say, if we need to make some changes, not a 180-degree pivot, we need to move ahead. I'm confident, and I've seen it happen before, that our teachers, given clarity, given the respect and responsibility to professionally discharge these duties, we're going to get it to a point where we're going to be running to catch up with them. And so, I mean, that's my prediction.
Only thing I'd add to that is we have tried to keep it simplified, and we've tried to keep a focus. We're trying to connect it to KISA. I mean, I just keep saying that over and over, but that's exactly what we're trying to avoid. And it is difficult, and it is something that can get very dry and can be hard to overcome. So we're cognizant of that, we're working on it, and we keep going back to those keywords.
Dr. Springton explained it to me. We were talking about this, and he said that teaching and education is an art and a science. This is the science of it. The art is that teacher in the classroom putting their fingerprint on what we're doing. And I really appreciate that analogy, because it gives a teacher the flexibility to teach, but it gives them the clarity and the structure that you're talking about. And if we can implement that, we'll create special things. And I'm excited. I really appreciate the work that's gone into this.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Dr. Springson.
Thank you.
Teacher recruitment update. Oh, 'tis the season.
Yes, it is. And as usual, I'm going to give an update to the update. So as of today, we have 23 teaching positions open, and I'd like to say that's probably all we would have, but based on past year's numbers, I think it's likely to double, maybe that number a little bit more. We had 49 teaching positions open last year, and we managed to fill most of them. So I'm confident as we go out on the road. We have right now 11 visits to college campus teacher career fairs scheduled in Kansas and Oklahoma. We're looking at some events in Colorado as well. We are collaborating on some events with 613. They are registered at some events we weren't able to get into. So they're going to take our information, and likewise, we're at an event they were too late to get registered for. So we will do the same for them and try to just get people to Southwest Kansas. The truth of the matter is that we don't walk away from career fairs with a slew of teachers in our pockets. And we don't have a lot of success getting them to come across the state to visit us. What we do while we're at these career fairs that I think is really valuable is make connections and put Dodge City out there in front of people, just to let even the administrators or the professors on those college campuses know what we have going on. And I'm really seeing some benefits from that. We have had a young lady from Northwest Oklahoma State University in Alva come up and talk to us about student teaching with us next spring. That's a huge development of 2 years of working with the faculty of that institution to get that information out to their students well before she goes to a career fair. Because by the time they go to a career fair, they already know where they're going. So this is the strategy that I think is most beneficial to us. And I confirmed today that Fort Hays is bringing a group of future student teachers on April 24th. They will tour our schools, read to our students, see what it feels like to be in Dodge City Public Schools, and that generally is a very good, beneficial event. I am also visiting with the new head of the department, the education department at Kansas State University, and we are trying to arrange a similar visit from those students. So I really think that's where our supply of teachers will come from. But it's important, if we want them to send us those student teachers, that we attend their events as well. So when you see that we're going to 11 events, it is the relationship that's being built more than it is what we walk away from that event with in terms of a teacher. So that's going on. And one of the other things that I'm really so excited about is expanding our presence on social media and different platforms for recruiting teachers. And it's been something that I've pushed for since I came to Dodge City Public Schools. And I am so excited that Carrie Baker is enthusiastic about this as well. And not only is she enthusiastic about it like I am, she actually knows how to do it like I don't. So, Carrie, would you talk a little bit about what's happening with some of our media ads?
Sure, absolutely. So we are running an online campaign currently. You want me to get the... You can't hear me? I'm not projecting well? We are running an online marketing campaign targeted for reaching teachers, and we were very specific where we place those ads. This is based on geographic and demographically targeting the desired person, and so that deals with your online profile. But we have hit the areas, Northwestern Oklahoma State University, heavy in Alva and Enid. We're dropping about 25,000 impressions there. We have 10,000 impressions that we're hitting Woodward with, and then Fort Hays State, 15,000. And it is an ad. You hit that ad, it takes you right to our page on the website where it talks about what new teachers receive, the starting salary, the stipend, the student teaching stipend. So it goes right there and then right to job opportunities. So it makes them really easy for them to see what we're offering. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll get some of the results with the analytics of the campaign end of next week. And so then we'll make an adjustment. Do we need to change the ad? Do we need to change where we're delivering those ads? And that's going to be a fun way to kind of market and follow up with some of the visits, or even place ads before we go for the visits. So we're layering in those pieces. We'll also be including LinkedIn and Indeed as well. So just reaching out that way. If you have any questions afterwards, just holler at me.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
The things that she knows about getting the word out and catching people's attention. Oh my goodness. I learn something every time we sit and talk. So I feel really fortunate that we have Carrie with us to bring the ideas that I've kind of been struggling with to fruition, and hopefully we'll see some reward from that. And like she said, once we finish this initial ad campaign, we may decide to do some out in Greeley, Colorado, or Kansas City, Missouri, who knows? We'll kind of look at it and make some decisions from there on what happens.
Pamela, did you have a question?
Yeah, well, a question and a comment. I think it's very important that we do develop relationships with the university professors. I think that that's a great way to get involved in that education community at the university, so that we can kind of get the cream of the crop when they come out. My question to Dr. Nance is, when you're going to these recruitment fairs, who goes with you? Do we always make sure principals are going along?
We do a mixture of things. Today, for example, we had a principal leave for Pittsburgh State. And
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
We do a mixture, Ms. Preston. We try to send principals when we can that are alumni from those universities, and perhaps a teacher that is also, just because those young teachers that have been out of college for a year or two still have connections to that university group, the professors, the students, and they can say what it's like to be a first-year teacher in Dodge City and the support that they receive. And I think that's a valuable recruitment tool right there. So we send those kinds of people. We have those going to Emporia State, Wichita State. We're just doing a lot of that. And then some of them, quite frankly, I can't send a principal to every single one. Sometimes they do need to be in their buildings, so I hit several of them myself.
Well, at the risk of, since I'm not there to look at all the dirty looks I'm going to get from the principals, but I do think that having principals at those is very, very important, because we have such dynamic principals. I think they could sway anybody to want to come there.
I agree. I agree.
Very good. I did see an article today about teachers in Denver.
Harry and I were just talking about that this evening.
I mean,
Ramona, no, should we hit Denver?
well, I mean, that's a very serious thing. I mean, it's getting so expensive, they can't afford to live in Denver and teach.
That's right. That's right.
Very good story, too.
Yeah.
And so one man's problem becomes another man's opportunity.
That's right.
A quick question. Do we track our students that have graduated from here and possibly gone on to be teachers to come back and start recruiting? I've always found that it's easier to get somebody that was local at one time to come back, than it is to go pull somebody. I always say West or East of Salina, you're not, they won't come back.
Right, we do. And even
tracking system in our, that we follow.
it's probably not as formal as I would like for it to be. I have put some suggestions forward in how to better track even where applicants find out about our job positions on our online applications, so we can see where we get the best results from there. But as far as what you're speaking of, we do have a database that tells us where every one of our teachers graduated from, where their hometown is, and those kinds of things. And I pull that every year and look and see where our most recent graduates are from, so I can kind of line them up to go to some of these universities and really use that to our advantage.
But I'm saying the ones that graduate from Dodge City High School, do we track them where they go?
As far as
I'm
what?
saying, and keep in touch with them. I went to Washburn, and they still try to keep in touch with me all the time in Fort Hays. So I just didn't know, do we track? I don't know.
We track what we can. But those who are interested that started in our teacher cadet program, we are providing their hip hop on a regular basis.
Okay.
Yep. Many of us speak or address the teaching academy class with Mr. Maple, and we strongly suggest the possibility is in their favor if they were to return, to look us up and let us know. So
I thought it was interesting in my communication with the head of the department at K-State today. It was even suggested that perhaps we could work together in a collaboration to help build that grow your own concept that I've talked about many times to the board, and really utilizing people who already love Southwest Kansas, love Dodge City, are familiar with it, are comfortable with it. And so I'm excited about that. I'm already talking with Newman about potential for developing some scholarships for our paras to go on and get that bachelor's degree in education. That seems like a really reliable source. Now, the downside to that is once I make all the paras teachers, I got to find new paras. I'll deal with that one later. But so, yeah, that grow your own concept, I think, is that's where the money is, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, that was my question, Dr. Nance, was about the paras, if we're having any luck in that area.
You know, last year, after our welcome back festivities in August, well, I say last year, but it was actually August of 2018, a representative from Newman had asked if we would arrange a meeting for her to address the paras and just give some information. And so we did that, and the response was really overwhelming. We probably had, I'm going to say 25. I mean, that's not a lot, but it's 25. People really express interest, give me some more information. Hey, can I meet with you to look at my transcript and tell me what I need to do next? And they were able to get some enrollments out of that. So we're planning to do that again this year. And I think the more we do it and the more information we get out there, just the more real and perhaps attainable that goal is for paras to think about going that next step.
The high school, excuse me, the district still has the agreement with Fort Hays State, that initiative that was started, I don't know, a handful of years ago, that I believed was for allowing paras to return to school.
Fort Hays State has a couple of programs, and one of them was the para program, and they've refined and developed that a little bit even since I've been here, and it looks a little different than it did even 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But yes, they have a program as well, and in my office I have, you know, materials for whatever it seems that the potential student might want. Some paras come in and say, I really need to do online because that works best with my life. Well, okay, here's a university that does that, and that would be Fort Hays State. And others are like, I'm not so sure about online. I think I need to be face-to-face with a teacher. Oh, well, okay, here's Newman. They do that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay.
Jackie, a question for you. There's been a big push for the Dodge City alumni. How has that gone so far? Do you know? I mean, have you, does anybody know?
You're talking about the Alumni Association?
Yes.
Carrie could probably answer that better.
Oh. I should have known.
She's been working hard on that.
We are in the process of having that developed into a 501c3, so it should be taking place any time now. So that's Clayton and our accountant. They are working closely on that. So as soon as that happens, things can take off.
Okay, and that's great.
And I'm checking every week.
Okay, but that would be, you know, Ryan was talking about, you know,
Absolutely.
Ramona's talking about grow your own. That's, and so I need to get a little more excited about that, you know, because, well, thank you for your work on that. Yep.
The website is done, so that's taken care of. So we're just waiting for this last piece, and then we'll start pushing out information.
Right.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Any more questions from the
So
board?
can we make it like this, when Fort Hays brings 20-plus potential student teachers, can we make it like a big recruiting day they do for KU football, trying to get the cream of the crop? Be willing to come help. We just, you know, whatever we can do to draw it community-wide.
I appreciate that, because I might need some bodies to just come get school Suburbans and drive them to schools. And
I'm the good idea fairy. I don't know that I'm the good cheerleader, but I'll try.
okay.
I'm the good cheerleader.
Yeah,
Okay.
you are. Yeah.
Well, so far we've had really good luck with that. We try to put them in schools where they get some really valuable experience that counts for their educational requirements at the university as well. And then we bring them back to the Learning Center and we talk to them about opportunities in the district and answer questions and feed them a great meal and put together a goodie bag for them for the ride home to their dorm. And we just try to make them feel how happy we are that they came to visit us and that this is a great place for them to start their career. And our teachers and principals do a great job of welcoming those Fort Hays students to our district.
Does KU recruit for football?
They're trying.
Okay, I just was curious. It's in the process. Any other questions for Dr. Nance? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Business services.
Okay, Mr. Hammond is absent tonight, and I will cover his two topics. The first one has to do with petty cash. That account needs to be opened because of the Heritage Center being moved. We still have some mail requirements, and I see that he's keeping the petty cash at the maximum of $25, which will just have to be refilled frequently, I would guess. Did I start with the wrong one? No.
That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah, just keep.
Yeah, let's cover that one because it's pretty simple, really, and I'll get your approval on that.
Make a motion.
Yeah, second.
Discuss it. All in favor? Motion carried.
Aye.
Okay. Now,
With that, I jumped ahead. I hear Dr. Dirk said that, well, that was page 6, did you move to that one?
yeah, yes, he did. He got out of order, but we corrected him.
Yeah, I'm back in order now, Pamela. I appreciate you pointing that out. Tried to apologize my way through it, but now I'm just going to own it. So, our next item is that we are asking you to purchase not one, as we normally do, but 2 lots for the Dodge City High School Building Trades Program. And the reason for that is, with the purchase of one, there is only 1 lot remaining. And this allows us some time to prepare for our future programs. I do want you to be aware of the fact that there currently is 1 other lot that we own, but it's going to require some special features for the building of that. And this will be what I would call the standard project of a new construction. And that will give us time to plan ahead. I also want you to know that we've been working hard to find other locations, and from the realtors and from what we're being told, that's hard to find right now. So we need to be thinking, and this will give us that room because it takes about a year per lot for the completion, and we've had success with it. It's one of our pathways, Teacher of the Year, running the program. We have a lot to be proud of, and I would ask that you approve the purchase of not just 1, but 2 lots for this program tonight.
There are no people from Rolling Hills out here.
No, I think we've worked through that. and
We've
I
worked
think
through
we're
that?
positive.
I
Okay.
live there, and they're welcome to come and build in our neighborhood.
Okay.
Yep, I don't think that's been an issue, so.
Any questions? Entertain a motion?
I'll move.
No, no.
I'll second.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion
Aye.
carried. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, then moving to the next item would be in my report. And the first item there is the KASB updates. And this typically is a semi-annual event. And I did present it for a first reading last month. If you read through it, a lot of them are tweaks, if you will. They're very minor changes. In some cases, they're actually typos that are being corrected that they've now caught. In other cases, they're just changing a word or two for clarification as they've worked with different school districts across the state. They've found better ways to word such a policy. Very few major changes. There was a form that needed to be changed. And my recommendation is, unless we see something we drastically object to, we try to stay with KASB because KASB is changing with the recommendations that they make. So if you're following an old policy, then you're just going to become antiquated at some point. So at this point, with the 15 revisions and the revised form and deletion of 1 policy and another form, I ask for your approval from KASB's recommendation.
Any questions? I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carried.
Next item is the extension of administrative and exempt employees' terms of employment. Have provided information for you have had conversations that needed to be had, and have put together a chart for your consideration and seeking approval for allowing our administrators and exempt employees that qualify to have their contracts extended as recommended. Would ask your approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
Last item that I have tonight is the administrative salary adjustments as we have progressed through standardizing classified, certified, and now administrative. I think we've made a lot of progress along the way. I am presenting to you tonight a recommendation that I feel like has worked out pretty well. We might have had one glitch in the fire, but we worked through that. And we were able to make adjustments to 42 out of 50 of the qualified administrators. And so an overall count that I would like you to take into consideration, out of 937 employees, there is a bunch of classified that come in at the base level anyway because they've just started, they're in their first year or two, so they weren't affected. But of all the employees across the district, we had 8 administrators, 32 classified, and 17 certified that were grandfathered. That means they didn't fit into the schedule that we've made the changes to, that we now have a standardized form, that we now can find where they fit on the schedule, that we are able to really point to and reward, as Dr. Springston was talking about. We're able to reward employees for their years of service and in many cases for their education. And so that's a total of 57 employees that were grandfathered in. And so I think we've done a marvelous job of reaching our employees and trying to show them that we care and trying to show them that we're trying to standardize this process. And let me tell you how that's important. I attended the legislative coffee this weekend at the City Hall. And one of the representatives that spoke was talking about Larned State Hospital. Larned State Hospital has over 500 positions at the hospital, and currently there are only 262 employees. Their turnover is so severe and their vacancies are so enormous that they're almost at the 50% staffed point. And what that causes is double and triple shifts. And there are employees that are getting paid a lot of overtime, but they're burning out. And if you watch the news or you heard the governor's report, there's over 1,200 state KDOT positions, and currently almost, not quite, 600 of them are not filled. And the report, and I read it several times, the report last year, entry-level positions had 100% turnover. 100% would mean every entry-level position that was filled was vacated. And that's what they're reporting. And a lot of it has to do with not being taken care of. So what I'm trying to point out is my attempt, and I've talked about this since I've been here, but my attempt is to try to take care of our employees, and that certainly includes our administrators too, who are the leaders of our district. I will be the first to admit this is not perfect. And I'll bet you money that if you stay on the board in the next 20 years, I probably won't be your superintendent in 20 years, and somebody's going to say, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know why he had that form. But right now, I've justified it to all, and we've talked about it at Cabinet, and there is an understanding, and there is now a process that we can point to. And I would appreciate your support for the salary adjustments for administrators as presented.
Well, I just appreciate any effort, because salary structures are tricky business. They really are. And when you standardize them, make a level playing field for everybody, it's a win. And so if you and your administrative council are confident that this creates a level playing field, then I think it does deserve our support.
And I bring it to you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
I have a motion by Pamela to approve.
I'll second.
I have a second. Any further questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Okay, now we're down to the member district responsibilities, Park and Recreation Advisory Board. Jamie?
I was not there at the last one, but I think they had to cancel.
Okay.
The last I saw, so.
You don't show up and they just don't meet?
No, that's not the case. That was not the case, but I was not in town at the
No, no,
last one.
yes,
so.
ma'am. Bright Beginnings,
We have a meeting coming up on the 19th. December minutes were included in the packet. January meeting went well, had a quorum. Updates on, of course, Head Start, early Head Start, full enrollment in both programs. I can't recall anything out of the ordinary. Things are going well. Tammy or AC, you want to add anything? Okay, yeah, no, things are going well. Doing a good job. Yeah, all the grants are, yeah, we approved all the grants, yeah.
there you go.
Okay.
Special education, this is going to get really interesting because we have, I think, some district-specific issues that I, as the board representative, need to address. And I intend to address them because they are solvable, but it's going to take some work. And so they have to do with staffing in Dodge City and salary schedules with, with 613. And so I am, to be perfectly honest with you, I'm spoiling for a fight. Because I think it's worthy of our effort for our young people in this district. We have to do a better job of staffing with psychologists and therapists. And it's something I think it's worth us fighting for. The money's there to do it. And we need to get it done. Mm-hmm. Legislative, Pamela.
I might remind everyone that on February 26th, there will be a Dodge City Night in Topeka, which is an opportunity to schmooze with all of our legislators. I'm not sure who's going from USD 443 at this time. Dr. Dirksen may know.
I do. I think Tracy Rankin has signed up, Lisa Killian has signed up. Carrie and Karen are going to go as well to prepare our booth and that sort of work that needs to be done for that representation, and I intend to be there as well.
Great. And I understand that the KASB has supported the Senate Bill 44 to kind of get the school finance litigation, get it restored back, and also Senate Bill 9 has been advanced to pay for the CAPERS. $115 million. Is that correct?
That is correct, and that was a big topic at the legislative coffee. Boyd Orr and the other two representatives that were there have very strong feelings about kicking the can down the road and trying to take care of the capers, and transferring the payment is exactly what was done previously. And interestingly enough, Governor Kelly voted against it when it was done previously, but now it's a part of the planning for the finance, which I'm sure is going to have to be negotiated in the whole process. The problem is, which ties into where I got my facts from, if that money is used differently than how she had intended, then there's only one bank left, and that would be KDOT, which has already been taken from many times. And so there's some leaning issues, and it looks like spoiling for a fight is what it very much talked about. I think I included it in my week in review, but I want to add on this legislative session that I do have the opportunity on Friday. I was asked by Commissioner Watson with a few other superintendents across the state to meet with Ron Reichman, the Speaker of the House, at the State Department office in Topeka and try to hash out school finance and what is needed. And so it's a great opportunity to represent Southwest Kansas and 443. And not hedging any bets yet, but it's a great opportunity to be able to present our case and hopefully accomplish something, because we've been in this fight a long time. It would be nice to see it be resolved someday.
What was the issue? There was an issue that they talked about. If this and this happened, the lawsuit would be dropped.
Oversight by the judges and making sure that we maintain a cost of living increase, which we haven't received in many years.
Right, okay.
Those are the two provisions they're asking for. And Dale Dennis, who's the Chief Financial Officer for KSDE, estimates that it has to be at least 1.4%. I think that was for 4 years. And the legislature has been talking about 1 year instead of 4. So somewhere in between, there might be some negotiation room. But if you look at where we were 12 and 14 years ago, it's not very different from where we are now. What I'm most concerned about that I want to speak about is our weightings, because we do have a lot of different areas that we rely on heavily. We have a lot of needs. Dr. Springsteen and I met this morning. We talked about summer school and how important that's been and our vision of what it could be. And that comes with at-risk money, which comes from the weightings. And, we're not looking at the traditional system. We're looking at a very complex organization, and we are a large district, but we have multiple facets, and we're still trying to remain simplified and focused because we care about teaching our kids. So just a great opportunity.
You bet. Anything else on legislative?
No, sir.
Thank you. Capital outlay, Tracy?
I believe they met, but I was out of
Okay.
the state at the time.
I don't think we've met yet. I do not believe we've met yet.
Okay, they called me about scheduling.
We've talked about it many times, and we actually met on our radios for our safety communication. We're trying to come up with a tiered plan on that because that's going to be a big chunk of capital outlay, but we haven't had an official capital outlay meeting yet. So, but I wanted you to know that's still on the forefront because that's a major. We have to take care of Comanche. We have to take care of Dodge City High School because those are some known weaknesses that we're going to overcome this summer. So, along with some other radios for administrators. So,
You bet. Calendar committee?
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Lisa, in the Kansas Heritage Centers or any other than the $25?
You would be amazed at how much has been moved, but you would be just as amazed of how much still needs to be moved.
You bet.
It's been an ongoing process, and I want to give credit to the Dodge City Public Library. They've been doing the lion's share of the work, and we hardly notice them, but little by little, they pack it and move it, and they pack it and move it, and before you know it, they've accomplished some gains, and that's what's going on right now.
Ryan, you are reviewing the district bills next month. Okay, announcements. February 25th, 2019, Board of Education luncheon at Dodge City High School, 12 noon. February the 26th, Dodge City night in Topeka. And then due to spring break, there will not be a board meeting on the second Monday in March. March 25th, the Board of Education meeting will be in the Austin Boardroom at 6 p.m. Any items for future board meetings? I know we okayed the safety director, and I know they've got to get, but as soon as they're up and running, and I'd really like to hear the progress that they're making, and at the appropriate time, that they've had time to, because I think that's important.
Yep, it is very important. We've definitely been working on that. I want to add to preparing for the next board meeting, we do intend to have a contract with Blaine Davis and Architecture Plus for approval to start sending out the RFPs and RFQs, and I get confused on all the RFs, but that's coming up, and we should have that ready. We met Friday, and we'll have it for the board meeting on the 25th, so there is movement there as well.
You bet. Or is there a need for executive session?
There is not.
Let this be known. If there are no other issues, we are adjourned.
Can we make a motion for that?
Oh, make it.
Yeah, I'll move.
Tammy's not here. I got a motion and a second.